Welcome back. We are on Chapter 2 of Access Level 1. This is Chapter 2, and we're going to deal with some queries here. This is the Access Assessment Project 1. Again, for Chapter 2, this one here is Parks and Recreation Outings. We're going to do this one here, and I'm hoping to post a second one for Chapter 2 later on. But let's get this one out of the way first, and we'll go from there. So business as usual, you know where to go and find your files, whether it's on Blackboard or My IT Lab. Just go grab those files that we need. For these two that I'm talking about, there's only a database file and an instruction file that you need. There's no Excel import, so we're good from that standpoint. It's really straightforward. There's a few steps that we got to cover. Nothing overly complicated, but at the same time, we need to take our time and be careful with what we do, because if you don't know already, Access is very, very fussy. So we got to be as perfect can be. Wherever you downloaded your file, make sure you go and open it. Mine is here on the desktop in the Chapter 2 Access Project 1 folder. The file that I need is the skills access 02 grader _ A1. I'm going to open that. That's step 1 of the instructions. Step 1 should really be to enable content, which is perfect. It's not hard at all. Click on that. Excellent. On our left-hand side, we're going to see that we have a whole bunch of objects that we can work with. We've got tables and we've got queries. And it's going to have us working with both of them and manipulating them, editing them, and creating some new stuff. So it's going to be really fun. Step 2 says to open the outings table in datasheet view. So this is the outings table. Double click. Boom, it is now in datasheet view. In the last column, it says to add a currency calculated field with the expression of fee multiplied by 0.35. Name the field discount and then save and close the table. That's a lot of information. Again, there's 10 possible points for this, so we want to make sure we do a good job on this. So we're going to go to the last column. We're going to go to a calculated. See, what happens normally is people get really excited. They see currency here and they go boom. And that's just not going to work for you. So what we got to do is we got to make sure it's a calculated field here at the bottom and then select currency. At this point, the expression builder dialog box is going to pop up and we just need to quickly create the equation. So it's fee. And watch which brackets you use because I make this mistake all the time. So it's fee, it doesn't have to be capitals, close the brackets, multiplied by 0.35. And then it says name the field discount. So that looks good. I'm going to click OK. And then it says field 1, and we're going to name it discount. Quite straightforward. And that there, like I said, is 10 marks. We want us to save it. It's an existing table, so no problem. And then close it. That's step 2. All completed. Very quickly, nice and easy. Step 3 says create a new query in design view. So now we're going to do one from scratch. And this one says add the table to the query. Add these fields in the following order. Outing name, outing date, category, fee, and discount. All right, no problem. When we're going to create some new stuff, we go to, obviously, the Create tab. Now it wants us to use the Design view. So we don't want to do the wizard, we want to do Design. And they take you through these different steps just so you can get a flavor of both, but follow them closely. It's not like when we were dealing with tables and I kind of went my own way. This one here is very clear. It says make it in design view. So that is what we're going to do. Click design view and it says add the table. Well, we only have one table. It's outings. Easy peasy. Click add and then close the dialog box. Perfect. So now what we have is the ability to add fields to this query so that we can modify it and search. Basically, the query is allowing us to search this database full of information. Let's take this slow though. It says add the following fields and to be careful of the order. First, it wants outing name. So if I double click outing name, it should populate it right down here. So outing name. Secondly, it wants outing date. Double click. Then it says category. And then fee. So I got to move down here. If you want to make it bigger, you can make it bigger like that, so you can see them all. But we can do fee. And we can do the last one that says discount. Perfect. So basically, we've added the 5 different fields that it wanted from us in just by double clicking them. It's really straightforward. That's 6 marks. We can check that off as done. It's at step 4 that we start adding something called criteria. Criteria allows us to narrow down what we're looking for inside of a query. In step 4, it says add a criteria that outings in the climb category or the kayak category display. Only those ones. So what we got to do is we got to go down to the bottom here and we got to take a look at the outings. And it says category. So if you look carefully, it says outings category. Once we've located that, we can go to the criteria section and we can type in what it's asking. So it wants climb or kayak. And when I tab out, you'll know that because I'm really close to what it wants, it automatically formats the quotation marks, the or. It also does quotation marks on the second word. So that's pretty awesome right there. And it wants it on the same row, which is fantastic. That was step 4. That's 10 marks. Step 5 is also 10 marks. This one here is basically wanting to take a look at the dates. As it stands right now, it wants a criteria that for only climb and or kayak outings between a certain given date. What we need to do is we need to go to the outing date field, and we also have to put the criteria for the dates. We do not want to put it down here in the or area, because if we do, then it's going to pull results either for the date or for these 2 categories. We want to make sure it's strictly this category, and a date between the dates that they've given us. So the dates they've given us are between, and then we go June 1st, 2014, space, and I'll move my mouse out of the way, it's kind of there, and 6/30, 2014. Again, if you are close with the formatting and you tab out, you'll notice that the software is actually going to format the information properly for you. It's going to put the hashtags in, capitalize the and, everything's going to look fantastic. At this point, they want us to save the query with the name discounts. Because this is a query we designed and it didn't exist, we need to save it with a specific name. I'm going to click the disk at the top left corner. First time saving, wants a name. So discounts. Pretty cool. Click OK. That is step 6 completed. Step 7. It says in the first blank column, add a calculated field with the alias discounted fee, and the expression should subtract the discount from the fee. Okay, so this one here is worth 10 marks as well. Nothing too crazy. We just need to know how to do it. So we want to go down into the area here where it allows us to add a new field. So we're going to do a calculated field, and the alias should be discounted fee. So here's what an alias does. So if I type in discounted fee with a colon and then space, what will happen is when you run the query, it won't tell you fee minus discount, it will actually say discounted fee, which is proper. So let's do that. So I'm going to go bracket, square brackets. It's going to be fee closed minus square brackets, discount, closed brackets. Again, I'm going to move my mouse out of the way because it seems to be blocking our view. And I will make the column a little wider so you can see exactly what we're dealing with. So basically, discounted fee is the alias. Then we've got fee minus discount. Perfect. I have to make sure I show this, because if it's not selected, then we will not be able to see it when we run the query. So let's do that. I'm going to run the query. Perfect. So what we've got now is we've got, if you take a look, we've got 6 records here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what it's asking us to do in step 8. It says run the query, verify that there are 6 records, and then it says set the discounted fee column to best fit. Save, and then close the query. So the discounted column, we're going to right click on it. Actually, we won't right click on it. We'll just go click on it, go to more, and we'll go the old school way, field width, then best fit. So basically, we want to best fit the discounted fee column only. Watch those instructions carefully because sometimes they could cause trouble. It says to now save and then close the query. So I'm going to save it and then close it. Perfect. That is step 7 and 8. Step 9. So here's where the instructions are very particular. It says use the simple query wizard to create a query named adult outings with these fields in the following order. And again, the order is very important. We need outing name, the leader, the outing date, and the minimum age. Okay, so what we need to do, again, go to create. But instead of doing a query in design view like we did before, we're going to use the wizard as it's requiring us. I click on the wizard. Perfect. And it says to use the simple query wizard. So simple query wizard. Excellent by default. Click OK. At this point, it says to add the following fields in the following order. It says outing name, first field, double click. Then it says to do the leader, double click. Outing date, double click. And then it says to add the minimum age in our selected fields. I'm going to click next. I'm going to click next. It's not telling me to do anything else, but it says what title do you want for your query? And it's at this point that I can give it the title that it wants, which is adult outings. I mean, you could do this at a later time if you make a mistake and skip this step by accident, but since we're here, we'll do it when it tells us to do it. Click finish, and perfect. So that's what we have. Step 9, complete. I have a feeling it's going to get us to do some criteria on this one. Step 10. It says set the adult outings query to sort the outing name column in ascending order. This is an interesting step. So step 10, worth 5 marks, is telling us that it wants us to set the sort for the query. Now you'll notice that from chapter 1, when you did those practice tests, that people that were doing them would click on the field in question, and then they would sort it based on that. But when we're dealing with queries, we want to set these things permanently. So at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to go into the design view, and we are going to go to, see here, outing names, and we are going to sort it ascending. By doing it here, it is permanently in the query. Every time you open the query, it will be sorted by outing name. It's very, very important. There's a big difference between the two ways I just mentioned. That's step 10. Step 11 says to add a criteria so that the minimum age must be 18 or older. Then it wants us to run the query and verify that 20 records display, and then save and close the query. Okay, not a problem. We've already dealt with criteria in our previous example. So what we need to do is we need to take a look here, minimum age, and we got to go to the criteria section, and we got to make sure we're familiar with our greater thans and less thans and equal tos, because if you aren't, you're going to get the wrong results. And the reason why this is important is because it's telling us to run it afterwards, just to make sure we chose the right options. So let's do that now. Let's run the query. If you look at the bottom, it says 1 of 20. Excellent. Let's take a look at the ages. Anyone under 18? No. Perfect. So that's amazing. At this point now, we're going to save the query and we're going to close the query. That's step 11. All done. Step 12. This one's a big one. This is 10 marks. It wants us to do, it says in the category statistics query, add the total row, group by category, and then for each group, count the outing dates and average the fees. All right, interesting. So now let's go and figure out where that query is. We look into our queries on our left and we see query statistics. Perfect. Double click it. Double clicking it's going to take us into the datasheet view. But in order to fix this or do the edit that it wants us to do, we need to click on the view button at the top. So let's do that. Perfect. Now we see category, outing date, and fee. What it wants us to do is add the total row in this section here. You'll notice that it's not intuitive. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But let me help you out. Let me show you a quick and easy way to do that. With this now open in design view, you'll notice there's the auto sum button up here. This is actually the totals row. So when you click on this, it's going to now give us a total row in this section. If you have never seen this before, it would take you forever to try and figure it out. It's almost impossible. But by me showing it to you, when you encounter it on the test maybe, it shouldn't be a problem. Let's read this carefully and see what it's telling us. It says add the total row, which we've done. It says group by category. Perfect, the first category is grouped. Then it says for each group, count the outing dates and average the fees. Outing date is over here. It's still grouped. We need to change it. Click there. And what does it tell us to do? It wants us to count. Fee, it wants us to average the fees. No problem. Excellent. That's step 12 for 10 marks. Step 13, this one's 8 marks. And basically we're still working with this query here. The thing that we got to do though is we got to make sure that our property sheet is visible. If you're on a computer at home or at school and this is not showing on the right hand side, it may cause you a bit of stress. So no problem at all. Up here where it says show hide, we can add property sheet. This will turn it on and off. Anytime you're worried, make sure that you check here first. Make sure that it's showing on the right. Let's read number 13. It says change the outing day caption. So the outing date. So I click in here. That makes outing date active. It says change the caption to number of outings. So I'm going to type it in. Number of outings. Remember that captions are an alternative to the actual field names. So it's kind of important that we are familiar with that. So we got that. That says number of outings. And then it says add, and in the fee caption, change it to average fee. Perfect. So we're going to go to the fee. We're going to go to the caption over here. And this one, they want us to type in average fee. Not only does it want us to do that, but it also wants to format the numbers as currency. Well, sure, they're money, right? So that's not a problem. Up here, we have a format option. We're going to click on format. We're going to go over here and we're going to choose the currency option. No problem at all. Step 13, now done. That was 8 marks. Step 14 says to run the query and verify that 7 records display. Set the column width to best fit, save, and then close the query. 4 marks, easy stuff. We've done this a number of times. No big deal. Let's go run the query. How many records do we have? We have 7. Perfect. Now what does it want us to do? It says set the column width to best fit. So I'm going to select the data. I'm going to go to more. I'm going to go to field width and select best fit. Perfect. Now we need to save and close the query. That's step 14. Step 15, our last complicated one. This one here is worth 10 marks. And what we need to do is we need to add a criteria that uses wildcards. Now, depending on which class you were in, you may have heard me discuss the different types of wildcards that are available. This one isn't very complicated, but it's important to understand the logic behind it. So it says add criteria to the duplicate names query so that the duplicate spellings for the leader, Alec Kill, will display in the query results. Unfortunately, this guy's name has been misspelt different ways. So we need to use a wildcard to make sure that we can pull all the different ways his name would have been spelt so that we can get accurate information on the query when it gives us results. So here we're going to go. So we're going to go and find the duplicate names query on the left hand side, double click it. Again, it opens in datasheet view. It's no good to us. We need to go to design view. In the leader now, it says that we need to find the leader's name here. So it's very, very important that we are looking for the display results with a wildcard. So we are going to go in the leader area, and in the criteria, we're going to use the coding like. And we're going to say ALEC, because that's the first name, very important, space KIL. And we're going to add the wildcard star. What this means is that anything that looks like Alec, KIL, with any letters to the right of that L will show up in our results. If I tab out, it's going to automatically format the criteria so that it works properly. To make sure that we didn't make any mistakes whatsoever, I need to run the query to make sure I get the right results. So let's see what happens. Perfect. When I go down to the bottom, you'll notice it says 1 of 17. As per our instructions, there should only be 17 records displayed. At this point, I'm going to save and close. So save this query and close it. Excellent. And it also wants us to close down the database at this point. As usual, if you are needing to upload this to my IT lab, you would save it and upload it. Or if you are just uploading it to Blackboard or keeping it for a reference for study, then that's fine as well. Just remember that these examples, these practice tests, will lead you in the right direction for the actual tests that we will have in the coming weeks. So make sure that you redo them, try them again, go over and over and over again. Make sure you instill all the concepts in your minds so that you are ready to go and get an amazing mark on the test. If you have any questions, as usual, you can always reach me by email or you can see me in class. Have a great day.